Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I want to talk to you about the latest episode of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. It was called Terrifying Miracles. And it starts at a military soiree in 1955 where Shaw and Dr. Mira are all dressed up and looking to schmooze the brass, which the good doctor is not thrilled about, prompting Shaw to reassure her that she'll be able to win the brass over to her side of things vis-a-vis Monarch before taking her for a spin on the dance floor, during which they kind of sort of seem to be into each other. In fact, they were about to go and get it on after their dance when duty called. In 2015, the French Monarch lady frees Dr. Shaw from a prison transport van, saying she thinks he's the key to doing work that needs to be done to protect humanity from Titans, which Monarch seemingly hasn't really been doing. Back in 1955, Bill Randa and the Doctor realized they need to go to Japan to track possible Titan activity. In the present, Shaw and the French lady show up at Kate's mom's house where the kids all are, and they all agree to let her help Kate's dad prevent the next G-Day times 100. At the same time, Verdugo and Tim from Monarch use holes in the wall of Kate's dad's office in San Francisco to figure out where the kids were going in search of Kate's dad. Back in 1955, Dr. Mira and Bill arrive on Monster Island and meet a scientist who's basically created something that draws Titans to it. It's a gamma radiation simulator. In 2015, in Algeria, Kate and the gang find Kate's dad alive in the flesh in a desert valley, but they can only see him from a distance through binoculars, and when he realizes they're there, he waves them off frantically. Back in 1955, Shaw shows up on Monster Island, and Mira seems displeased to see him. Again in 2015, Shaw realizes everyone's in danger, and as they scramble to move away, Monarch arrives in a helicopter. Back in 1955, Shaw and Mira talk about the burgeoning feelings between them and have a snog, knowing they're dangerously complicating things by acting on their feelings. Just then, Godzilla shows up, much to Shaw and Mira's surprise, as they thought he was dead when the nuclear blast went off a couple episodes ago that he had been lured to. Back in 2015, the team is rocked and sent tumbling as Godzilla bursts out of the ground and takes down the helicopters. In 1955, Shaw plans to tell General Puckett that Godzilla survived, only to find that the Navy's been given control of Monarch, which Mira is very much not happy about. In 2015, the kids split from Shaw to find Kate's dad, when Shaw goes after Godzilla with the French lady, intent on helping Godzilla with something, somehow. I'm not sure what that was. Before the episode ended, May confessed her treachery of ratting out the team to Kate and Kentaro, and it didn't go well. So I really liked this episode. I've liked most of the episodes. I've only found, I think, one that was kind of subpar, but this was another great one. The love story between Dr. Mira and Shaw kind of comes out of the blue, and it's kind of contrary to what we know or think we know, which is that Kate and Kentaro are Bill Randa's kids, meaning that at some point Bill and Dr. Mira get together, but if she has feelings for Shaw and Shaw has feelings for her and they get together, which it seems like they're going to, what happens there? I think that's going to be interesting to see unfold, because in this episode, Randa seems to know that they have feelings for each other and he kind of steps out of the way deliberately on purpose. So it seems like he's not intent on, getting in the way, or that he doesn't have feelings for her. Yet supposedly Kate is his granddaughter, so at some point things change and it's going to be weird to see how that all happens. But it's good in that you don't want your story to be super predictable, and apparently this is something that's going to cause drama. There's going to be a love triangle of a kind, it would seem. So that's interesting. I only don't like it because I think Shaw and Dr. Mira are a good couple. I don't necessarily like the idea of her with Bill Randa, so I'm going to be bummed about that. But maybe they're not really his kids. Maybe they're Colonel Shaw's kids, and there's some skullduggery that we don't know about. We're going to have to see. But anyway, I like that development because I like seeing them together, and it's interesting for the story because it's going to create drama, and so we'll see what happens there. I like that we got, a lot of the blanks filled in. We kind of know now that one of the tipping points, if not the tipping point, where Monarch went off the rails was when the Navy got control, and control was taken away from Shaw. So we got to see that. We got to see Godzilla in 2 different time periods in 2 different locations, which is great. I like the fact that there are a couple of people who have split off from Monarch because they don't trust them anymore and have sided with Colonel Shaw. I think that's cool. I'm a little dubious about something that was said in the episode, which is that when the helicopter went down, no one survived. I have a feeling that's not true. I think we're going to at least see Tim survive, if not Verdugo. So that'll be interesting to see whether I'm right or not. I can't imagine they just killed off the Tim character right off the bat. It seemed like a character that was, going to be involved in the story long term, at least to me. And the idea that they just killed him off camera, I'm dubious. I don't think they really did. I think we're going to find that he survived and that Colonel Shaw only thinks there were no survivors of the crash, because that's what he tells Kate and the gang, that nobody survived. But we'll see. One thing I didn't like about the episode was how Tim figured out where the kids were based on, hey, there's a great view out the window of this office, but Hiroshi doesn't have his desk facing that way. So why was he looking at this wall? What was on this wall? Now, we as the audience know there was a giant map on the wall because the kids used it to figure out where the dad had gone based on superposing the projection of a copy of a photo in the files that they had over the map. But Tim was able to figure it out based on, hey, he must have been looking at this wall and why. And oh, hey, look, there's tiny pinpricks in the wall. This must represent something. And then from that, he extrapolates that there was a map of the world on that board. And then he figures out that where the single holes were corresponds with where there were Monarch sites, and that the parts of the wall where there are multiple holes must be where there were radiation events, and that must be what Hiroshi was tracking, and that must be where the kids are going. And I didn't think that was, I thought that was a far-fetched, like that they pulled that out of their ass. And I'll allow it on the one hand because it allows the narrative to function. It allows the story to continue, for them to track them and meet up with them and whatever. But I thought it was kind of bullshit. So it's one of those things where you have to suspend your disbelief, and I'm okay doing that. But I wanted to point out that, it made me sort of fall out of the story because my bullshit alarm went off. And I guess I hope they had figured out some other way to make the narrative function without this far-fetched kind of, hey, why was he looking at this wall? Oh, look, there's little holes. This must be what that means. And builds this whole map and shit out of it. I thought that was a little hard to swallow, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, I really like this episode, just like I've liked most of the episodes. And I'm looking forward to where these little story bits go and to getting more of the background as things continue in the future episodes. I'm going to get out of here for now, but I'll be back to review and recap the next episode once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.